Mono Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another episode of Vuka Nazo. My name is Sihle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty. Let's start your news day with compelling analysis. Remember, before we do that, you can find us on our website at www.bigdaddyliberty.com and indeed on all your major social media platforms. Now, with that being said, let's get straight into the news. And so we begin in KZN, in KwaDukuza Municipality. That's the town of Stanger, now KwaDukuza, which is on the north coast of KZN, where, if you remember, the ANC didn't actually really win that municipality. It only got 49% of the vote from the last local government election. And consequently, ActionSA, the opposition party in that part of the world, has and will be launching a motion of no confidence against the ANC's mayor, deputy mayor, and speaker. Now, what does this mean? It effectively means ActionSA, if that motion passes, has to be able to hobble together enough support in order to form an alternative government in that part of the world. In that regard, it has been in conversation with other opposition parties, the DA included, which is the other rather big political party in that part of the world. But those negotiations have stalled. They've effectively come to a deadlock, with the DA hurling some serious accusations against the ActionSA attempt, basically accusing ActionSA of two things fundamentally. One, cadre deployment, which is a policy that the ANC puts in place where it puts its people into key positions of government, despite, of course, whether those people can deliver or not. And the second accusation is one where it accuses ActionSA of trying to manipulate budget processes by having unelected officials make decisions around that. Now, ActionSA itself has hit back to these accusations and explained that actually no, it isn't so much cadre deployment, but instead what it wanted was, quote, a multi-party coalition to be consulted on the appointments of senior managers in vital municipal positions. And on the issue of the budget, oh no, it says it's not also a case of wanting to manipulate those budgets, but rather wanting those budget processes to be in line with the Municipal Systems Act and supporting legislation. Again, I don't know where the line is. I don't know what's true and what isn't, but what I do know is this: the residents of Stanger and its surrounding areas are desperate, and I mean desperate. If you look at the state of that beautiful town and how it's decayed under the ANC, they're desperate for an alternative government, but they're not that desperate that they would want to replace one corrupt entity, that is the ANC, that employs things like cadre deployment and the manipulating of budgets, with potentially another which does that or justifies doing that. And I'm not saying that is what ActionSA is doing. All I'm saying is it has to respond to these allegations in a much more serious light other than to dismiss them. And also the DA itself. Is this just a case of petty politicking? Either way, it's not a good look. And for those of us who live in that part of the world, we're expecting better. All right, in other news, Dudu Myeni, she's the former chairperson, of course, of the board of South African Airways. You'll remember her. She was chairperson from 2012 to 2017. What a character she is. Indeed, a character whose name cropped up quite a lot during the Zondo Commission. You'll remember that commission which looked into state inquiry. Indeed, the reports of that commission had even recommended that Myeni, her affairs and the affairs of senior officials at SAA implicated in wrongdoing should be probed further by law enforcement. In any event, that same character pled guilty in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court to a charge of obstructing justice. This, of course, if you remember, after she had done the most unspeakable thing of trying to effectively expose the identity of someone who was a whistleblower, who was coined anonymously as Mr. X during the commission. She effectively went about naming the person, presumably in order to intimidate. Now, I'll read this particular piece here, which summarized it quite nicely. Myeni had named the person she assumed was Mr. X in public testimony, despite being cautioned by the inquiry's chairperson, you remember Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, that the witness should remain anonymous. Now, her lawyer had argued in mitigation of the sentence that she was a first-time offender who will be turning 60 in October. Who cares? The lawyer also argued that Myeni was not gainfully employed and had not earned an income since 2017 and was rather declared a delinquent director for life and could not pursue any business interests. End of quote. Now, Dudu Myeni deserves everything coming her way. She is part of that crooked, nebulous network of the political elites in this country who care nothing for us ordinary folk, us faith flag family and freedom folk who are barely making ends meet. Dudu Myeni is part of an elite in this country who literally and quite happily have allegedly been the sort of people who siphon off money from state entities to line their pockets and of theirs of their cronies. So am I happy at this judgment? Yes, I am. Do I want to see more of judgments like these where the allegedly corrupt get their comeuppance? Absolutely. And hopefully the judiciary is going to do exactly that. And we end off with a little bit of good news, a tiny bit of sliver of good news, and that is a petrol price decrease of over 1 rand is projected for the month of August. Now, it's good news in an almost backhanded kind of way because, this comes off the back of what were already record increases in the price of fuel. And indeed, most economists warning that this drop that is projected for next month won't make any dent in the already hiking inflationary picture that we are seeing. But hey, whatever, I'll take it. I'll take the good news. And indeed, if I read into this article over here, according to audited data released by the Central Energy Fund on July 26th, the over-recovery for the month so far points to a decrease of actually 1 rand 89 for 95 unleaded. And unfortunately, it's effectively snuffed out by what's left of the so-called fuel tax holiday, which is set to fall away next month. So theoretically, the reducing effect will be only about 1 rand 14. Now again, on that particular last point is where I wanted to just dwell for a moment, and that is, it has been absolutely stupefying to me that even as the prices of fuel tracked in a record upward trajectory, politicians in this country persisted with charging you a fuel tax, and instead of removing it completely, said, well, we'll give you a bit of a holiday from this tax. Why are politicians treating fuel and essentially energy like it is a luxury and not a basic commodity? Fuel, whether it is petrol or paraffin or diesel, is not a luxury, and instead it is a basic and necessary commodity. And maybe it's time we South Africans really say with one voice, scrap the fuel levy. All right, that's it for another episode of Vuka Nazo here on the Big Daddy Liberty Show. If you want to get in touch with me, make sure you find me at my website. That's www.bigdaddyliberty.com. And of course, all of my social media details are in the descriptor of this video. If you're looking to support the channel, please, again, you can find all of those details on the website. With that being said, I will catch you tomorrow morning on another episode of Vuka Nazo.